and he's just reading it, but he's like visibly shaken and angry, like he feels like he lost, and he just goes like, yeah, and then he throws the bag into his cart and just keeps like rolling the cart through the.
He's just reading
hanging
100% whole grain.
Yeah.
Roll the intro.
Evening, officer. Is something wrong?
Just keep your hands where I can see them. Routine traffic stop. We got reports of someone driving under the influence. You know anything about that?
No, I'm only under one influence.
What's that?
The influence of Jesus.
It's time for Under the Influence.
Yeah, we don't want to do anything to scare your children.
Hello again, everybody. Jerry here with Christian Influence. I want to thank you again for listening to our podcast and for supporting us in our online endeavors as we seek to glorify God and serve Him. Once again, if you are not involved over on Discord, that is where the majority of our discussion about this show happens, as well as where we organize regular games and events to enjoy with the whole Christian Influence community. So head on over to christianinfluence.net for more information about that. Also, to everyone that listened to last week's episode, I sincerely thank you for your words of encouragement, support, wisdom, and gratitude. The discussion as a result of my story has been incredible, and I have enjoyed the takeaways people have shared from it. Episode 12 is special to me, and I am joyous knowing it has been received well. This week, we discussed the importance of being fortified and rejuvenated through fellowship and godly counsel in your life so that you may be ready to approach the situations in life full of sinful and negative influence. We are called to be ambassadors of Christ to the world, and it can be grating and draining spiritually in environments that seek to tear us down. And it is important to have moments and times of reprieve away from that influence so that our values and what we know to be right and true are not compromised. And we continue to be most effective as Christ's ambassadors. I will always love Philippians 4:8. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. It is important to remember in the midst of positive influence or negative influence to focus on those things that are true, noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable, excellent, and praiseworthy. Don't waste your time dwelling on the sin of the world, but invest it in what edifies and lifts your spirit and glorifies God, so that you are better equipped as His ambassador. And where do you find what is true and what is right? You find it in God's Word. So, I do hope you enjoy our discussion and that this week for you is one full of admirable and pure thought. Now, enjoy episode 13 of Under the Influence.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Under the Influence, the official Christian Influence podcast. I'm one of your three co-hosts, Jude Crane, joined by my other two co-hosts.
Levo Thiessen.
And Jerry Crane.
That's my brother.
No, he's my brother. You guys might notice that things sound a little bit different. Maybe you don't. Maybe they don't sound any different. But I have a theory that they're a little more echoey. But pay no heed to that. We're just in a different place. Typically, we record at the church after church, but our resident guy in the chair
Passed away.
Decided to ditch us.
Well, I was just going to say is on a school trip.
He is on a school trip.
No, he's on a trip chaperoning some...
To those pearly gates. To Washington, D.C.
Yeah, with some students. So, wait, are we just
on a trip to...
Are we just revealing his identity by saying that? We got to cut that out.
Do you think no one else goes to Washington, D.C.?
With students?
That his identity?
Well, you know, he doesn't...
What are we revealing that we haven't already revealed?
That he has...
He has students.
You just said his name.
Did you just say his name?
Yeah, his name's... They already know that?
No.
We've said that.
All right, let's
so
restart.
Many times. Are you insane? Are you out of your mind? What?
All right, starting over and go. All right, everybody, welcome to Under the Influence. I'm joined by Jude. I'm joined by Lude.
I'm joined by Jude.
Yell that loud. Don't do it right into the mic.
Jololelo.
So we were reading the Pigeon Bible earlier, so it's
Yeah.
on my mind.
Yeah.
Now that we've fully restarted. Where were we?
Your segment where you go, Patreon.
Well, I wasn't going to do that this time because usually I kind of work it into my intro monologue. But I will say we do have a Patreon. So if you're at all interested in in supporting us in any way, we would greatly appreciate it. We have 2 tiers there, a $3 and a $5. $3 is a basic support and $5 gets you access to a bunch of additional content. At least twice a month, we post another little mini show there. And occasionally we'll post other stuff, things like that. Also, you get some bonus entries into our giveaway on our Discord, which, speaking of Discord, jump in. Talk to us there. We want to hear from you.
We gave away a Boeing 747.
No, but we did give away a whole tub of G Fuel.
You see,
Is that?
we're in the
We did that?
soul.
Yeah, we just gave away a tub of G Fuel.
Fantastic.
Not like a bathtub, but
A
like,
whole bathtub full.
Oh, well, why would you say tub? I was excited.
well, they're called tubs.
They're
40
very
serving
small
tubs.
with America right now. Do we have a hypothetical to open up with?
We don't. But I do believe today we're debuting our brand new segment stinger made by resident idiot, Jude.
Resident Village Idiot.
No, it's a stinger. Are you ready? For a recurring segment, now with stinger, which may change or improve in the future. En route with Jude.
On route with Jude.
Can't help but laugh every time.
Yeah. That was like professionally done. Who put that together?
You.
That's right.
I actually might go in and cut that out and then re-add in one with music later. But if I didn't, then you'll be hearing me say that I was going to and I didn't.
I think the world would be a better place if you didn't. But yeah, this week.
Definitely can't now.
My route story happens to be from Wednesday. And on Wednesday,
Ooh, what a day.
I drive, contrary to the other 3 days I work, where I
Where he
Don't.
walks.
Where you sprint.
I sprint to Eastern
down
Oregon.
to Albany,
Yeah.
sprint to Eastern Oregon, yeah. With hundreds of bags of kettle corn.
This takes place in Grants Pass at around 10:30 a.m.
I think we've called out Grants Pass before, too.
Have we?
No, it was Gresham.
Gresham. Yes, Gresham.
We kind of kicked Gresham around.
Beautiful place. Gresham.
Yeah, you spoke highly
Beautiful
of it.
place. Gresham.
Beautiful.
I would love Gresham. Everyone at Gresham loves me.
more than every other place.
But we're talking about Grants Pass. And there's a coastal in Grants Pass I deliver to. Wrong. There's a Grange Co-op in Grants Pass.
Who's
I deliver.
Ron?
He
Wrong.
said wrong.
What are you, deaf?
I heard you.
You crazy?
I heard it, dude. Jeez.
Grange Co-op, I deliver there, and I stack it full of kettle corn. And actually, everything went splendid. There's usually a semi-truck that's in my way, and it wasn't, which is fantastic.
Hey.
Took the corn in, got it checked in, loaded the rack, and went out. But this time, because where I parked, I was closer to the front doors. Usually I go in and come out the side doors. And this time I went out the front doors. And so when I went out the front doors to get to my van, I got to my van. But the entire time, yeah, it's crazy. I heard 2 men, grown men, screaming at each other.
Weird.
Like, you hear people yelling, but it's different when you hear them screaming at each other, especially with obscenities.
Oh, actually, that's an important distinction.
Yeah.
I was imagining
it's-
them yelling.
No,
Yeah.
it's screaming about their families and
What?
all about each other. They weren't happy with each other, evidently.
They were screaming about each other's families?
They were screaming at each other.
You have a wife!
More like your wife and then something not nice.
Oh.
Yeah. Or your mom, something not nice.
Got it.
Yeah. And I couldn't see them until I got to the van. They were on the other side of the parking lot, right in front of the van. And they are just bloody murder screaming at each other. And one of the guy gets out of his truck, and they're both like 70 years old.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was
And
I did
imagining,
not
like-
see that.
No, one man looks like your typical farmer, literally like a flannel and overall denim jean things. And then the other guy was just wearing a tucked in black t-shirt and jeans, and he was big.
Big.
And these two men were about to brawl it out, but they were also 70, so they were saying like, do you want me to wallop on it? You want me to hit you? And the other guy would take a step back and be like, I'll hit you back. And they're screaming at each other. They're red in the face. And I'm like, should I do something? But I was getting like nervous because like they were really in each other's faces, like nose touching. They could have Eskimo kissed.
And you hadn't heard up to that point why?
No, I don't know why.
Oh, still?
Nope. I only got there for whatever problem it was. I was only there for them duking it out verbally.
Right.
Yeah. And eventually it just ended. And one guy walked away and he said, I can't believe this has happened. Like you're more terrible derogative things. But the real funny part is the driveway to this Grange is a giant loop around the store, and then you come into the parking lot. So to leave, you have to leave the parking lot, and then you do this loop around the store back to the main road. And I'm leaving, I'm driving the loop, I'm thinking about what just happened. It was crazy, it was weird. And at the very end of the loop, where I'm now kind of beside the store where there's shrubs for sale and like hanging garden stuff, the guy in the overall denim is there.
The big guy?
And he's no, the big guy had a tucked in black t-shirt. He's fuming, just like pushing his cart and like looking at things aggressively. And I look over at him, and he picks up like a bag of it must have been like feed or grain or something. And he's just reading it, but he's like visibly shaken and angry, like he feels like he lost. And he just goes like, yeah, and then he throws the bag into his cart and just keeps like rolling the cart through the.
He's just reading
hanging to
100% whole grain.
Yeah, the other guy took off in his truck and like turned right on a red, which you could do, but there was still traffic, and like cut people off and was like.
So he was done with his show.
He was done, and this other guy clearly was not done. He was like, I want more. And so he took it out on the bag of grain, and it was just crazy. I was a little like nervous if something would happen, or should I say something? Should I start calling them names, or
Should I start calling?
why to de-escalate?
Right. Names like, you're just a Care Bear.
You're just a real loving guy.
Yeah.
And you're big.
So pointing the overall, you're a Care Bear, you're a real loving guy, and you're a big guy.
No, he wasn't fat.
Yeah, I got
He
that.
was old and jacked. Like he had a belly on him, but it was like dense.
Right.
Like he was a big old guy.
He's like Maui.
Yeah, well, no. They were both white dudes. But
Well, I didn't say anything about his race.
Maui.
That's pretty racist.
Maui, like
Maui. Is that
Maui
that
from
Dwayne
the
Rock Johnson's
from
character?
that
in
from that
Moana?
movie called
Moana.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know the name of the movie.
Moana.
Moana. Is that what it is? Moana?
Moana.
Oh, that's a
Moana.
Moana. Is it
right?
2 words? Moana.
It's
it's
one
Moana.
word. It's Moana.
Moana.
It's Moana.
No, it's not Moana.
like the second half of
Moana.
of iguana. Moana.
Well,
Moana.
Moana.
Awana.
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 Approved workmen are not ashamed.
I want to build my life God's way.
Oh, is that the second half?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've gotten somewhere that we didn't start.
It's true. We have.
Isn't that the truth about all conversations, though? We've gotten somewhere we didn't start.
Yeah. Do we not have a hypothetical to loosen up our skills of speaking? Because clearly I'm not there yet.
We didn't talk about one. Do you have one on top of your head?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I've been thinking a lot about this actually, and it's kind of been weighing on me emotionally.
Right. Oh, that's an important hypothetical.
Yeah, and it is if you had a choice between having porcupine quills on your back, or being the governor of Chicago.
Chicago, yeah.
Which would you rather?
100% the porcupine quills.
Yeah, the porcupine quills.
I would also take the porcupine quills. Thank you.
All right, so that was just a layup of a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would want to be the governor of... Wait, governor of Chicago? You psycho? You mean Chicago's a city.
Yeah, you would be a mayor.
Mayor.
Did you say mayor?
I said
No,
governor.
he
I
said
meant
governor.
mayor.
Okay.
Yeah.
The governor of Chicago.
I'll be the governor of Chicago because
Jude,
that
I
his
was
doesn't
next
exist.
political race, running for governor of Chicago.
It was weighing on me emotionally.
I can tell, yeah, because it put you in a state where you couldn't even speak truth.
Yes, I couldn't even speak truth.
Hey, speak some truth to me, pal. Yeah, nice. He couldn't do it.
It's weighing me down.
No, I guess we don't have a hypothetical. We could look at one. I know that Brian sent us in the Under the Influence channel. He talked. It's not really. It is a hypothetical because it's not a would you rather, which your question was. It is quite literally a hypothetical.
A hippo,
A Hippocratic.
A hypothetical.
a hippogriff.
A hippogriff. He says, how would you deal with this situation? You have a friend that you're trying to get to know better. You really care for them and you're interested in, furthering some sort of future with them, whatever, fostering a relationship, right? They want to cook you your favorite meal and you agree. Once you sit down to eat this meal, you realize it's the most horrible tasting thing you've ever tasted. Your friend asks you, hey, how was it? Better yet, they just say, it tastes good, right? How do you respond? It's your favorite meal.
Why are you gaslighting me?
What? Why are you gaslighting?
Dude, just stop gaslighting me.
If they say it tastes good, right? You say, why are you gaslighting?
Yeah. Stop gaslighting. No.
Oh, because it's a leading question.
Yeah, because they're like, it's good.
It's good,
It's
right?
good, isn't it? While they're like,
Yeah. Well, okay. Presumably, if it's terrible, wouldn't they know? Or is this is one of those situations where it's like
they're only
They have pica.
They only made one portion
Pika.
of it.
oh, just for you.
Yeah, they
Just
made it
for
just
you.
They're
for
like,
you.
I made you
This is
shepherd's
your-
pie.
This
and they're
is your
watching you eat
favorite
it.
thing.
And it's like water,
good, right?
basically on the inside.
It tastes good, right?
While they're cleaning the dishes, watching intently that you eat every bite. It's good, isn't it?
Ugh. Ugh. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're not a serial killer in this situation. No, but in all sincerity, do you know how you'd answer that?
I wouldn't lie to them.
You would tell them it's bad?
Yes.
Why?
Because you shouldn't lie to people. Is that-
Fair. So how would you say it? I am not
So-
your brother.
okay.
That's just an empirical
How
statement.
about we use
I
am not your brother.
Levi? You're my fiance.
Oh, there you go.
All right.
You just cooked me poppy seed chicken casserole.
Am I a woman in this?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, thank goodness.
You're Livette.
Leave it.
Yeah.
All right.
And you hand it to me. I take a bite. Oh.
Oh.
It's good, isn't it?
Oh.
Come again?
It's good, isn't it? It's your favorite. You liked it, right? Right?
I'm in a wheelchair in this scenario, I guess. And that's me wheeling away.
Get away from me! Quick. I guess that is the only pretense where you would marry Levi, huh?
Well, this is Livette.
Oh,
This is Leavette, you
I would say
imbecile.
it is
Imbecile.
poppy seed chicken.
Poppy seed chicken.
It is
So
my favorite.
you would just state that it is what you like.
It is the type of food that I like.
So
listen,
Leavette over here is like,
Livette.
I made your favorite meal.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, yes. And then puts it in front of you, isn't eating it herself.
You literally,
eat it.
you can see the air green, like waving
Ew.
up
Yeah,
from
the
it, like in
fumes.
the fumes in a cartoon.
And there's a little,
this
like,
is the worst
toxic
meal. Yeah,
ever.
like toxic radiation is coming off of this.
And you sit there, you take a big old bite of it.
You know what's interesting? Is this is so incredibly subjective because for me, like the person that I would be interested would also have like a sense of humor and be able to
Right.
understand my
Yeah, but what if they don't?
but I want to be interested in it. So that's the thing.
You
I
wouldn't
mean-
have a friend that This isn't
This is
just no.
supposed
I
to-
said a relationship of any kind. You just
Oh,
see
I thought
some
the
sort of-
question was
Oh, I
romantic.
thought that it was mostly
You didn't listen
romantic.
to me read it.
Because
I
he
didn't
says
see you read it.
like
I listened to you read it.
and married folks
That is
go back to a time.
I didn't. That's what the question actually is. But I tried because he
Sorry,
says
I was answering what the question actually
no,
is.
no.
I was
He
actually
says
thinking about
both
the real-
both things, so I rephrased it in a way that made more sense.
it's
for
just
this
my friend?
conversation. No, I said a relationship of any kind, meaning you want to have a continued relationship with this
Romantic
person,
or not?
whether it's friendship or otherwise.
That depends how you answer.
Okay, then we talk about that. It depends on
That yeah.
So this is the Levette thing, let's say.
yeah, that's the situation I.
And so you're saying
with.
you wouldn't be with someone that couldn't cook.
No. Did you listen?
That was a
I
joke.
said the person I was interested in would have a sense of humor. They'd understand how I
Right.
communicate. I'd
So they would
like,
be able to take your insults.
Yeah, I'd go. You idiot!
Oh man.
You call this food?
I hope that's a joke.
And then she cries. No, I would say I'm going to be honest with you, Levette, because I love you.
You loved it so much.
And I take your hand in mine and I go, no, I didn't. But what's more important is that you made me my favorite meal, and I really appreciate that. And, we should try this again.
Okay, this is stupid.
It is.
Here's
yeah.
the real example.
Thanks.
What?
I'm ready for the real one.
No, it's just Levi. Finds
It's
out what
just
your favorite-
Levi?
It finds out what your favorite meal is. No, it's not Levi. It's somebody you met a week ago, and you really think this person's cool, and you want them to continue to be your friend.
Cool.
And they're like,
Your
"Hey, I
life
found out what
cannot continue to exist without this person.
They want to be
remaining
my
your
friend, or I want to be their friend?
both."
Okay.
And they find out. I mean, why would they cook this for you if they didn't? They find out what your favorite meal is, and they put it right in front of you, and they're like, "Hey, it's good, isn't it?"
Here you go. You immediately throw up.
It sucks.
It's, oof.
Well, what'd you think?
How long have you been cooking?
Oh, I don't really cook very often, but I wanted to cook.
Well,
for
it
you.
shows, yeah. I mean, yeah. I appreciate you made this for me.
Yeah.
That means a lot, but
So you pretty much deal with it the same way.
yeah. And then I go, because I love you, and I take my friend's hand, and I go, and I want to foster a marriage and a family with you. Nice time.
And then you propose right there on the spot.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So all I have to do to get Jude to marry me is to cook him his favorite meal,
terrible example.
but in the worst way possible.
Actually, this is an interesting question. What is your number one favorite meal?
Right now,
Not the question that is commonly asked in our friend group,
famous last meal.
which is the like you're on death row. What are you eating?
Yeah.
What is like of all time? I think it's. Should we put the specification that it's home cooked, or can it just be no? Because you could get
What's
like a
your
really
favorite
nice
meal?
restaurant.
Could be a burrito. Could be not.
What is your number one favorite?
Could be
meal?
like a
My
Big Mac.
mom's chicken poppy seed casserole.
Chicken poppy seed casserole.
Poppy seed chicken casserole.
I've never heard of poppy seed chicken.
Apparently, not a lot of people have, but it's fantastic.
It's very simple. It's literally just like chicken breast prepared however you want,
With like a
and
cup
then
of poppy
pulled.
seeds.
Nope. And then
pulled.
pulled,
shredded.
pulled, whatever. Yeah. And then so it's like these long shredded pieces of chicken mixed with cream of mushroom soup.
Well, cream of mushroom. It's not a soup.
Or sorry, cream of mushroom. Yeah.
Yeah, because cream of mushroom soup is a soup.
Yeah.
Cream of mushroom is a
bad.
base.
It's cream of mushroom.
and then
Poppy
poppy seed and a bread top. Oh my goodness, it's so
there's
good.
like breadcrumbs on top, and then there's something else in there that I'm not remembering.
What is it, like onion?
And then it's all on top of rice, and then that is baked.
Oh my goodness,
So it's like a casserole.
it's so good.
But it's for whatever reason, dude, it's crazy good.
It's so good.
It really is. Way back in the day, she used to make it a lot, but then my dad used it for a catering too. And we were catering for a bunch of cadets, not the Pope, a bunch of police cadets. And I don't know if you've seen that Seinfeld episode where she fails the drug test and she's like, I had a poppy seed muffin or whatever. So that was a joke constantly because we were feeding like 400 police cadets or whatever, all in the middle of like, well, I don't know if it's called basic training or not, whatever, but all training. And they're coming in and we were feeding them lunch, I think breakfast, lunch, and dinner for like a week or something. And
All
one
poppy
of them,
seed infused meals.
no, but this one though,
Bagels, poppy seed casserole.
and my
poppy
dad
seed
even
ice cream.
told the drill sergeants, dude, I know nothing
I
about
don't
the world.
think it's a drill
The people in
sergeant.
charge that were
Yeah.
training them ahead of time, like, hey, like this is the thing, like, you know, this is what's going on, this is what they're eating, let's kind of mess with them. And they were all like, all right, everybody, you know, after just eating a bunch of it, they're like, drug tests coming up next. And quite a few people were like,
One guy threw up. It was crazy.
and then one guy accidentally dropped a bunch of heroin on the ground and they got that guy.
He had made it this far.
No, but it's so easy.
with his pack of heroin on his side.
Yeah. No, it's just such a simple meal though, and it's really good. It even worked for like large scale, like with the catering.
What's yours?
Mine is probably the full spread of the Filipino meal, like the chicken adobo, bihon, lumpia. I can do without suman.
What? The best part?
I know, dude. I'm not the desserts guy. I really like savory foods.
Suman. At least the way my mom makes it. And my mom makes it the way that my grandpa made it.
Mom's Filipino food is good.
Yes,
It's fine.
it's fine.
My preference is Mimi's, our grandma.
Yes. That's totally fine.
Well, originally our great grandma, which we so originally called her grandmama.
Interesting.
Grandmama. That's what we called her.
Never met her.
Well, I guess she met you.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I was a baby.
a baby.
I was a baby.
But yeah, no, that meal. If you don't know what chicken adobo is, it's basically just like it's full chicken cooked in like onion and vinegar and soy sauce and there's quite a few things in there. Gasoline, diesel,
Absinthe.
castor oil. No, just a bunch of these like I don't know.
There's a lot of
I
stuff
don't know
that
how to describe
constitutes the
it. It's
base.
very
It's,
good,
it's
though.
acidic, so it makes the chicken really, really easy to pull apart.
Yeah,
and eat.
you literally
It's
can just
delicious.
pick up a leg and it all falls off.
fantastic.
But it's very good. And then bihon is like a rice noodle, but it's not rice. It's just these little rice noodles mixed with pork and green onions and veggies and all this kind of stuff. And then lumpia is it's easiest to describe as like Filipino egg rolls. They're wrapped up but they're made with a different filling. Like it's got, I think it's usually beef, and then there's bean sprouts, I think, and then golden raisins and quite a few things, and it's got like this savory, sweet kind of
It's
mixture.
really fantastic. You dip
And then
it in
Jude's
soy
favorite part of the
sauce.
whole thing is suman, which is the Filipino dessert, and it's sticky rice with coconut milk, and you basically make not brownies, but it's like
It's like a rice brownie.
it's literally just like a rice brownie
then
because it's in a dish.
You
and
sprinkle
then you cut
brown
them.
sugar on the top and eat it.
Yeah, you cut them into squares, and then you put little brown sugar on the plate, and you can stick it to the side.
It's fantastic.
It's fine.
I could eat a whole pan. Of
It's just like it's slightly sweet rice, and then you put brown sugar on it. So it's a very simple dessert, and it's not gross. It's just that like my favorite part of that meal is all those delicious. I love vinegar, especially cooked into things. Whenever I go to a Chinese restaurant, I always ask for vinegar to put on top, and I love that kind of thing.
in Mandarin too, which is crazy.
In Mandarin, yeah. Ni hao, more vinegar, please.
Yep. Ni hao, more vinegar, please. Shia, shia.
Xia. Yeah.
Xia.
I bookend it because I can start off by saying ni hao, and then I can say whatever I want, and then finish it with xia, which means thank you. And
Which really just throws
the whole
off
thing is in Mandarin. What about you, Levi? Favorite meal of all time?
my
think I know it.
dad's smoked ribs.
Dude, I knew it.
So he'd take a full rack of beef ribs, right? And
Because this is what you had at your graduation party, right? Or your going away party.
yeah. And he also does it for my birthday sometimes.
Yeah.
But I don't think that he can do it the
I think that was a
right
combined
way
event.
anymore, because doing it the right way, that was
Ritual sacrifice.
yes, ritual sacrifice. But they're on the grill like all day, like on our Traegers being smoked, right? And throughout, he's glazing it with a mixture of apple juice and a peach
Interesting.
jam that we had made like 10 years before.
Oh, that's amazing.
So sealed peach jam that has just like, it's just starting to like ferment. a little bit.
Interesting.
It is,
It probably wouldn't be good in many other circumstances other
No.
than this.
but as a glaze on, and
Peach, anything to me is amazing.
but like, we'll have that, and he has to pull them in. He has to set them down, and they have to cool so that everything like consolidates, and he's got it like wrapped in tin and stuff. That's the worst part. It's just
Is waiting.
Yeah,
That's the thing that's so true about most meats, especially if you smoke them, though. You have to let them rest.
yeah.
Because
it's so much.
it is so much better.
I used
And
to sneak
people
them
don't do it.
when they weren't like fully ready. I would sneak them.
Yeah.
Nowhere near as good as when I let them like rest and collect. But man, we would have them, and then it wasn't like there's parts of it where the meat just doesn't like come off.
Yeah.
Like with each bite, like you have to kind of like gnaw at it. And man, that was like, I would just sit there in front of the TV with my family and we'd be watching like Lord of the Rings or something, because it would always happen on like a big occasion. And that was like our go-to like thing to watch.
Right.
And I have so many memories of just sitting there gnawing on these giant ribs that are larger than my forearm. It's the best. Like, it's so good. He makes them now still.
Yeah.
Like for really special occasions, because if you didn't know, meat's a little expensive.
Especially right now, yeah.
Yeah. And but we don't have that 10-year-old peach jam anymore.
Does he use just peach jam then?
Well, we every once in a while, we can peaches every year. I think he turns some of it into jam. Like just to be used for like this, but it doesn't have that same like,
Yeah.
because these were like yeah, it was so good, so good.
I want some now.
Yeah,
Forget the Filipino meal. I want some of these ribs.
Do not forget the Filipino meal.
No.
oh man,
want that
speaking of ribs though, oh, my poor neighbor, the same ones that that I helped in a dream.
Had his ribs
If you heard
removed?
that? No, he didn't have his ribs removed.
Oh.
But he's getting a little sick, and he was making ribs, and when he turned on the Traeger or whatever his cooker is, it got water in the pellets. So he had to totally take it all out because it was like sawdust in the bottom of the auger.
You got to fully clean that whole thing.
Fully cleaned it out, put everything in, and then he gets it running. Finally gets it like to temperature, and then he has to run into town for like 2 hours. As soon as he leaves, it stops working for whatever reason. Yes. He comes back. It's cold to the touch, the grill.
And it's supposedly been running for 2 hours.
And it supposedly had been running for 2 hours. So he missed more time. Finally gets it fixed, and then it keeps like going on and off.
And there was meat in there this whole time?
And there was meat in there the whole time. But it lost so many hours, and he has no idea how much time, but he ended up getting them done, just having to raise the temperature and cook them like as well as he could. I was so sad. Because he's also like sick with something. I have no idea what it is. But
He's sick with it.
He's sick with it.
Sick with it.
no, he's got a cold or something.
Yeah, so
But yeah.
I think to wrap it all together, those are the meals that are being prepared for you by someone. And somebody royally screws up those beef ribs. So like somebody that you're interested in finds out that your dad makes the best ones, gets the recipe from your dad, and royally messes it up.
Fully fermented peach jam.
Oh, it's just rotten
10-year-old peach
like
jam.
mash.
Yeah. It's peach mash that's set outside for 10 years. Yeah. And then they rub that. Yeah. Would you have the heart to tell them they were bad?
Yeah.
Yeah. You would be personally offended.
Yeah, I would be like,
You ruined my dad's ribs.
look how they massacred my boy.
You broke my dad's ribs.
You broke my dad's ribs.
What? I've never touched your dad.
We're getting a divorce. We're just friends. We're getting a divorce. No, but
Yeah, I mean, I do think
I
it's
mean-
an easier question to answer than...
I would hope that like with it being someone that you're like wanting to get romantically involved with. What?
Nothing, go ahead.
That they would be like the kind of people that you can just be like
Honest with, right?
yeah.
Yeah, no,
because
I agree.
I personally I wouldn't want to build a relationship on lies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think if you get more serious about it, I think obviously, yeah. If it's somebody that you're earnestly pursuing, you should be able to be honest with them about even like if you can't be honest with them about simple little mistakes like, hey, this tastes gross. I'm thankful for it, but
Then
it's
what are
bad.
you gonna do when they're pregnant and then they're asking you, "Does this dress make me look fat?"
No, I meant more along the lines of like if they're, actively running away from God or something, something exceedingly more important. But no, yeah, that's true. Okay, well, I guess we're done with that.
Well, what would you do? You have an answer.
Yeah, you didn't say what you would do.
Oh,
you
no,
just said what the
I
food
agreed
was.
with you guys, and I mean, I kind of talked
you
about
got to
the
go through the
relationship.
works. What do you do? Word to word.
What do you do? Like,
Word for
You're
word.
marrying Levette. Levette makes the lumpia. The lumpia isn't even edible. It's plastic.
Right.
made it plastic like you like. I made it plastic for you.
I would just say, Levette.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, Jerry. I am Levette.
Levette.
Yes?
I thank you for making a meal that is very important to me and to my family.
Of course.
I just need you to know that it's terrible. And
What?
what?
What? What did you say to me?
Oh no, she's gonna beat me up now.
You're gonna eat that lumpia, Jerry.
Throws me out the window. I'll eat it.
Here come my lumpia, terrible.
Yeah, no, I think I would just. I mean, honestly, I would just be like, I would eat it. I think I would actually different than you guys. I think I would suffer through it.
What?
Yeah,
No.
I wouldn't lie to them
Suffer
if they
for love?
asked me. It was
You're gonna suffer for love?
yeah. No, I think if somebody made something that was special to me and it was bad, unless it's like we've gone around like it's just tasting bad, and then we joked about it being rotten. But I think it's supposed to just taste bad.
Yeah, it tastes bad.
I would just be like, hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate this. I would suffer through eating it. But if they asked me, it's good, right? I'd be like, you know what? I don't think it'll ever live up to my mom's or to my grandma's. But thank you for making it.
Yeah, but it's.
I mean, I would
it's
thank them
bad.
for the nice gesture, but
Yeah.
like,
You're not gonna tell them it's bad.
I would say like, hey, next time we make it, let's make it together.
You're not gonna tell them it's bad.
If they say, is it bad? I'd be like, it isn't very good. I'm sorry.
it's the most atrocious thing that I've ever.
See, I wouldn't be
laid
rude
my
about it
taste
though.
buds
Earlier I
on.
was joking. Yeah, that's it.
What?
I think we've lingered on this topic a little long enough.
What?
But
You don't want my lumpia?
yeah.
Eat it.
I love
The
that
echo
stinger.
makes it so much better.
Yeah. Dude, we need stingers for like all our segments now. Don't
Yeah, they all have
we?
screaming.
Well, we don't really have
We don't have like
a ton of segments.
So we have to make new
We
segments.
need, honestly, we do. I've been thinking about this. The podcast needs like,
Levi, you need a segment.
you do. What, is that you doing a puppy impression? That's pretty good. Is that going to be your segment? What? Oh, this is Levi's segment. Levi.
Do an animal impression.
Yeah, do an animal impression. No, I think Levi's segment is the roll the outro thing. It's a short segment, but it's
That's a good
tremendous.
segment.
It's an oldie but a goodie.
It
Yeah,
is.
It's a classic segment.
All right.
Season 2, we're gonna hire someone on Fiverr to do it, but yeah.
Because really,
just
you can't
to
get
say-
any worse.
Roll the intro or outro. Crap.
Yeah, we can't get anyone but Levi. They'll
Nope,
mess it
gotta
up.
be Levi.
All right. Well,
Well, Jude, before the podcast started,
No, I'm just trying to gaslight my co-hosts.
trying to gaslight my co-host.
Hold on, man. I'm just trying to gaslight.
so you wanted to talk to us about Scientology.
I do, yeah. No.
so
No,
how
I'm
much
not a
money
big
did you
fan.
pour into
Dude,
Scientology
I need
until
to
you
know
found out
what
it
my
was Christian?
thetan count is.
Oh, I can read your thetans.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. How many thetans do I have?
Close one eye.
Close one eye.
Yeah. Get your hand away from the keyboard. You're thetan free. You're thetanless.
You have no that means you're
thetans.
dead.
And Levi, close one eye.
Thetans are bad. In Scientology,
You don't want thetans.
I'm pretty sure thetans are like the little spirit demons that suck your
Oh,
soul.
I thought that you need at least
As
like
someone who's
one-
well versed in Scientology,
Because aren't
yeah.
you like a thetan?
No. You're an
You're a man.
axolotl from the future.
You're just a test tube floating around in the cosmos collecting thetans.
All right, my turn.
Close one eye. I'm disgusted by the amount of thetans you have.
I knew it.
I'm disgusted.
Well, need to get these thetans purged.
Yeah, you go to a
How much
like
is
a-
Scrape
that
them off
gonna
with this
cost me?
card.
Yeah, you go to a
No.
temple with
Don't
Tom
listen to him.
Cruise.
You can
and
just
put your
scrape
hand
them
in a
off with this
toaster
card.
and you get rid of your thetans.
It's like plaque. You just
That's
scrape
my
it off your body.
that's my Visa card.
Oh well, then it'll be worth something.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about something this episode that wasn't thetans or Scientology or plaque.
Or what?
Plaque? What?
Continue.
What do you think I said?
I didn't think you said something.
You did.
What?
Never mind. I wanted to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart. No, but it's something that I think everyone goes through. And I think a lot of people listening to this podcast are at least somewhere around the age we are, whether it's older or younger. But
Yeah.
I guess that's a dumb
I guess
thing
all
to
of
say.
humanity.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean,
There's a
give
lot
or
of
take,
people
like
that
within a
are
decade
graduating,
of our age.
a lot of people that are out of high school, and they're, Christians that are kind of going more into the world and dealing with a lot of different situations that they haven't had to deal with before.
Well, the great thing about, not the great thing about dealing with situations you've never had to deal with, but the great thing about, also not the great thing about, you know what? Maybe that's not the right way to say it. The
One of
great
the
thing
things-
about these sorts of topics is they are applicable to everybody of any age because for the most part, you are always going to encounter something you haven't encountered before.
That's true.
At least, philosophically. There we go.
This was just something I hadn't really encountered
Yeah.
because I was privileged to go to WVCS and
shout out.
be surrounded by a lot of Christian Peters. But
A lot of Christian Peters.
I heard that too.
Peters. What I want to talk about is the workplace, or really anything that you are somewhere you have to be for an extended amount of time, and you're
Right.
surrounded by people. So this could be school if
Right.
you're going to school, or the workplace is what it was for me. But you're surrounded by people that not only aren't Christian, but are
Wait, the workplace is what it's been for you?
What kind of work?
What workplace were you in that was... Sorry, continue what you're saying. I'm sorry.
Okay. That you're surrounded by people that aren't Christian, but are also more than that. They're negative influences.
Right.
Like they're actively encouraging bad things, or they're just speaking in ways that are kind of wearing you down, or that are making you more compliant to speaking in those ways.
I mean, we've been kind of setting up stepping stones in a way for this kind of topic for a little while, right?
Yeah.
We talked about language and being purposeful with your language, and also, not learning, but like starting to become complacent and making excuses for your language, adopting things from the people around you that are negative. And then last week, I talked a little bit about my life and how it's changed over the time, and starting with a workplace like this. But
And to not continue to be more pedantic and get to the meat of it, the situation you're in when you're surrounded by people that are poor influences, and you feel obligated as a Christian to reach out to them and be a good influence on them, but at the same time, you don't want to be out-yoked spiritually and allow them to negatively influence you instead of influencing them positively, and how you go about that and do that, and our experiences with it.
yeah,
And so for me, like when I worked at the volcanoes, it wasn't the most harsh example,
yeah.
but I'd be surrounded.
So
with
for those
people-
listening, the Volcanoes is a local baseball stadium.
yeah,
We family business ran it for quite a few years, ran the food there and most of the operation there. And so Jude and I grew up working there. Jude in middle school and into high school, and then myself actually in middle school through high school.
Yeah.
But just so you know what we're talking about.
The baseball stadium. It wasn't super intense, but of course I worked with people that used profane language. And when I worked back grilling, there was a lot of talk of just subject matter and interests that were really, detrimental to like a good, healthy psyche. And I wanted to be an influence, but I also had to learn where you draw the boundary between socializing with people and how it becomes, are they influencing me or am I influencing them?
You wanted to be the influence and not be influenced.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's a tricky situation, and it's not super easy to find the boundaries. And I think finding the boundaries is definitely subjective because some people are stronger along, their walk. But I was curious if you guys had any experience with that. I know you worked at a...
Yeah. No, I talked about it last week, which also, to those of you listening, if you listened to the episode last week, I just wanted to say thank you. I've seen a lot of people talking about, I know this is a quick sidebar.
No.
Sorry. And I wanted to do this at the front of the episode, but I didn't. I forgot. But no, thank you for those who listened. A lot of that for me was very difficult to talk about. But it was, it was very important. I believe it's very important to have been talked about. And it was really important for me to kind of run through all of that. But also, I've seen a lot of discussion, both in our Discord and just from people I know that have listened to it and talked to me about that kind of stuff in their life, and overwhelming support too from people who have just kind of reached out to me, and which wasn't something that wasn't like, oh, I need to talk about this in a public way so I can get people to kind of lay hands on me and support. But that was nice. It was very nice to hear that from people. But also, I do just want to thank you for listening. Again, I did this in that episode, but thank you for listening to the things we say. And so I'm referencing last week's episode because I talked a little bit then, and I talked a little bit on episode 11, I think, or it was 10, but nope, it was 11, where we're talking about language and stuff like that, right? And I already kind of touched on this, but being in a place where you become complacent. And I worked, I've never really thought of the volcanoes that way entirely, but yeah, no matter where, I think the volcanoes is a good example of like the two places that we can talk about. The place that is not necessarily edifying, it doesn't serve to lift you up in that appropriate way and to really spiritually boost or bolster you. And there are times where it's relatively neutral, and then times where it can be draining. But then you have another place, I think, which I guess that's also kind of personal. It's from person to person, and especially where they're at. Different places can be, I think there are some objective metrics about places like that, but some of it's going to be personal. But then there are places like where I talked about where I worked, which was, just a warehouse job, and it was nights and there were things about it I enjoyed, number one being it paid very well. That was about it. No, and I had some friends there, but then the things I really disliked were things like it was nights, and the hours were really difficult. The work was fine, but, the things the reason I've called it spiritually draining was because, like I said last week, there were all kinds of depravity in every corner, right? If you can think of it, it was at least being exhibited in some way there, whether people were getting involved with one another, going to parties and stuff like that after or outside of work. And I'm not particularly tempted in that way, whether it be drugs or alcohol or that kind of thing. But I know some people are, overwhelmingly tempted and in that kind of way. And it's dangerous, right? When you find yourself in those positions, but there's other things, other ways that I'm particularly tempted that were exhibited there as well. And the opportunity for those things to happen was definitely presented. And one of those things, right, was conditioning my mind to be more okay with, using a certain type of language and talking a certain type of way with people, and, the way I conducted myself and yeah, no, it's just, it really is dangerous, right? And so what's the question here, right? Is it how you deal with that? Well, is it how you balance, how to appropriately handle a spiritual draining environment and balance being an ambassador while not being, unequally yoked.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about it because our sister just graduated and, you're kind of getting unleashed onto the world. And if any of them are listening, I would hope this helps them because...
You mean her classmates and stuff?
Yeah, because there are two ways I kind of really screwed up in my effort to do this just because I had to figure them out. No one really told me. And you're right, the volcanoes it wasn't nearly as bad as...
No, I mean, that's why I said, though, it could be personal. I mean, you were at a different place in your life.
I was in middle
too.
school, yeah.
You were in middle school, yeah.
I was a young kid, and it was rough.
You were like sealed off more from other people.
Yeah, I was
running around.
I was either running around or I was sequestered in the back on a hot grill with another dude. But there were two things that I hope can help the people listening, and that is in terms of dealing with those people. Being spiritually drained is the perfect word because quite literally you have to think about it as something being drained that has to be refilled. And I would be surrounded by these people that, it was really just swearing. And that really, for whatever reason, I really disliked. And it really kind of ate away at me because that's an easy thing for me to slip into. And so all I was really doing was I would just pray about it. I would feel kind of dirty after being surrounded by that all day, and I would just pray about it, which is absolutely necessary. But that's all I was doing.
Yeah. I think that kind of helps to recenter you and get you back into this position of being God, refocus me and put me in the right mind so that when I'm inevitably back in that situation, when I go back to work tomorrow, you come back at it, not at that place where it's kind of whittled you down to.
Yeah.
You are, like you said, refilled.
Refilled, yeah. And prayer can do that, but oftentimes you have many other outlets to do that. And so you're kind of robbing yourself if all you're doing is praying and not seeking out, fellowship with other people in Christ. And so there are two things that really helped me, and I just want to, for anyone listening that might help you, refilling that bar, as I kind of think of it, that spirit, that you've been drained spiritually, refilling it, seeking counsel with other people outside of that, and making sure that these people, I don't like the way that sounds, making sure that the only time you're going out and really socializing, and maybe this is more for someone very introverted like me, but have time outside of that with people that you're fellowshipping with. I've been fortunate to be a part of game nights that my brother usually put on, or the Dungeons and Dragons games that we'd play. And those are with other believers. And so it's been an area where, regardless of the job I'm working, I have somewhere I can go that's not just church or a Bible study, but it's somewhere I go recreationally that I'm also being, or at least trying to be, edified spiritually.
Right.
And so I think that's really important, especially if you're in a situation where you're around people that are being a negative influence on you. And the other thing is, and this was especially because I was a young kid, I tried to deal with it very passively. Instead of when they would swear and talk about profane things, I would just not talk about it.
Right.
As opposed to
act like it's not going on.
Yeah, as opposed to actually just speaking to these people, and part of it's because they're adults and I was younger, but just speaking to them and saying, "Hey, this is totally a reasonable thing to say while I'm working here. Could you just not? Right. Could you just try to keep the swearing down? Could you just not talk about those things while I'm around?"
Kind of just standing up for yourself, but also not yourself, but standing up for what's right.
For what's right.
If you're around it, it's not. It's kind of along the lines of it's not just enough to not take part in it, but it does add value to not be confrontational in a negative way, but in an edifying way. Maybe confront somebody and ask them, hey, why is it that you used, or why is it that you're doing this, or do you not see the value in not doing this?
It feels kind of weird to do that in the workplace because there's almost a clinical sense. But I found once you do that, once you speak to them, and you're not just passively not doing what they're doing, but you're asking them kind of why they're doing it, and hey, could you just not do it while it's around me? It gives them a perfect opportunity, because then they start thinking. Then they're consciously thinking when they're around you not to do it. And then they're thinking while they're around you, well, what are you doing? Right. Because I'm not doing this, so what are you doing? And that gives you a perfect kind of pedestal example. It provides for you an opportunity to be an example of
Right.
like, well, if I'm not swearing, what am I doing?
Right.
Right. And I've just been thinking about this.
It provides you a really good opportunity where hopefully you were already living a life that is a good example.
Yeah.
Right. But now it has kind of shifted. It has kind of shifted from them maybe passively noticing it to more actively noticing it. Right. Kind of like you were talking about before. And also what you were talking about earlier about being around it and it kind of draining you and then needing opportunities to refill. I mean, I think that term being unequally yoked, right? I think it fits very well here where you want to make sure if you're unequally yoked, be unequally yoked in the right way. Meaning like you are seeking out a lot of positive influence, right? Godly influence, going to church, the people that you're really spending your time with. and it's reminiscent of Proverbs 13:20. He that walks with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed, right? So you're not making these, well, fools for, lack of a better term here, but these people who are spiritually draining, you're not letting them be your companions, the ones that you are walking alongside and spending the time to to adopt their principles, right? You are walking alongside wise individuals, and you're seeking entertainment that is edifying. You are seeking fellowship and friendships that are edifying, and then you are seeking to learn from the right places, right? Biblical teaching, going to church, and stuff like that.
Yeah. And the reason that I think this is important is because it's the time that people are graduating, leaving school, and a lot of people are getting jobs.
Yeah.
And no matter what, if you're trying, you will be an influence on these people. But
Yeah.
it's not always the perfect, hey, they see you, they not only stop what they're doing, but they get interested in what you're doing.
I mean, I have a story about that specifically.
It does happen. But sometimes you have to be ready that sometimes you'll have a job and you'll have a place where you have to go and it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure.
Like
that
school,
everyone-
even, you said earlier.
Even
too.
school, yeah, because I went to a Christian school. It's great, but not everyone does.
Or I'm just
Most
thinking, like,
people
after graduating, you may be going to a community college
yeah.
or a university.
that is secular, or even if it is Christian, it's a much bigger place, and there's not always a great Christian representation. But make sure that everywhere outside of the place you have to be, like school or your job, that you are surrounding yourself with people and at places where you are constantly being built up and edified, so that in no area you're being torn down any more than one of those other areas is building you back up.
That's a really good way of putting it. Yeah, no, and now the other interesting thing too, I think that we could touch on about this subject, and I think it's the same, but it's different. Not just in areas where you feel like, oh, I have to be here, like work or school, but the environment is bad. But out of that situation that I was in that job where it was obviously a bad environment, you also you want to be. Well, you should be mindful in this way, but you want to be a good example, and also you want to be a light in other people's lives, right? So the difficulty there is when you're around people who are, it seems as though their life goal is to pull you down or pull other people down. It's difficult to kind of find the balance of like where you actively seek out helping them, and then you avoid them altogether, right? Because you can tell they are actively trying to pull you down. Yeah. And what I was saying to you earlier, Levi, is we've been in a situation like this. More so me, but we were in a situation where somebody was at our house, right? And they needed somewhere to be, or because they had nowhere to be. And I felt convicted because this person, I was like, oh, well, they need help. They need, well, sorry about that. There's the Discord notification again. They need help. They need being ministered to. They need people in their lives that are good examples. They don't have any of that right now. And ultimately that led to a lot of issues that night that they needed a place. And I think it was I made the wrong decision. I had good reasons, I think, for I mean, we talked about it, and I was like,
Good intentions.
Good
Good
intentions,
intentions, but not. Yeah.
I mean, my intentions being like, this person is so far gone, and they have nobody in their life that is truly edifying them, and is a good example of like seeking godliness. Who is then helping them? The only people that do help them, it's out of the wrong reasons and inappropriate intentions, right? But unfortunately, that was a person who, and at the time I didn't really see it this way, but they were actively seeking out basically to drag everybody else around them down. And it led to a situation that could have got us in a lot of trouble, and thank God it didn't, right? But more than anything, it could have got somebody that we cared about in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. There does come a point when somebody
Jude's just spacing out over there.
I'm not.
Shaking his bottle of milk.
I shook it once, and
You're the resident baby.
the resident baby. No, it was. Yeah, there comes a point when, like, in that kind of situation where there's only so much that we can do as people that aren't like professionals.
Yeah.
Because there were some psychological mental health.
Yeah,
issues
no.
in that
The
kind of
issue
situation.
the issue is, like, let's say you have somebody who is living a really depraved life, right? And they also don't have anybody around them who is building them up. And then that person comes to you and says, "Oh no," I mean, they're a manipulative person, but they're asking you, "Hey, I want to know about this Jesus guy, or I want what you mean. Your life seems stable. I want that, and you're a Christian, so that's what's clearly providing it." And so, for me, that was where I was like, "Oh," I had danced back and forth about this. Like, I worked with this person, and I was like, "Well, I'm going to be a good example at work for them, right?" And then, if I'm around them outside of work, which I often wasn't, but if I was, I would just, in my actions, I wouldn't do the things they did. I wouldn't encourage doing the things they were doing. But the difficult situation here was that not only did they need help, but then they were going, I want to know. I want you to pray with me. I want to know about Jesus. And they were saying that they wanted to hear the gospel, basically. And so when I was hearing that, I was sitting here thinking, well, it would be so wrong when not only do I have an opportunity to share the gospel with someone, which we have all the time, but they're basically screaming at me saying, "Hey, share the gospel with me,"
Yeah, well, Jesus sat with tax collectors, like the lowest form of human being, and that at that time. Not to say that they're still not the most horrible human beings.
We jokingly talked about taxes before this episode, and you found a way to work it. Well done.
But more seriously, I don't want to be like mean or anything in saying this, but there is only so much that we can do when it comes to people that have, because with that situation, there was a lot of mental illness going on.
Yeah.
That was affecting all of the manipulative behavior and the back and forth of, "Oh, I really want to know all of these things about God."
Yeah.
And then, "Hey, let's be depraved human beings." And there comes a point when, like, "Oh, I'm going to help you when you're like this, but then I'm not going to let you into my house."
No, yeah. And like, it's important at the very front of that situation is establishing those boundaries, probably. And I think that was something.
Those boundaries.
Well, and that is something we did in that situation, right? We told them that, like, if it gets to this point, you have to go, you have to leave. And then that's what we followed through with that too. When it got to that point, it was like, you have to leave. And then
I finally got to call the police.
Yeah, we had to call. Well, I'm not going to get too into what happened, but no, I mean,
you got to call the police.
Yeah, I haven't called like I would put 911 in. Like,
what?
But not. I think everybody's done.
Like,
I have the desire. I really want to, like.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Well, it's kind of like this.
It's like the
thing.
sacred number.
Yeah.
like
Yeah, no,
911.
It's. I mean, in the way, like you're not supposed to do it unless you have to. So having the privilege, I think there's a lot of people out there who have had to do it though, and that don't see it the way you see.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
I
of
am.
other
I
issues.
know
Yeah.
100%.
Scary
I was just
issues.
finding the silver
But in
lining
that
the
time, it's more of
situation.
like there's drama, and
Yeah.
I get to call the police, and no, I don't know why. I mean, I brought that up only because that's not a situation where it's like I'm working with someone who is just using profane language all the time, or saying horrible things or doing things near me that are rude or whatever. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That is a situation where it's like it almost seemed like this person was crying out for God, and I only bring it up because there are situations that are difficult where you don't really know how to balance the like, okay, do I associate myself with someone who is quite unequally yoked, right? Someone who is, well, to what level do you associate them with, right? And Jude was talking about how when you're in a situation where you have to be there and it feels like you are being drained, it's important to go other places and in the places where you're really, like the verse says, companions of these people, right? Like you are invested in your friendships, but you're probably not entirely invested in the lives of the people you work with. And so it's just important to the places where you're going to get invested, the places you're going you're really pouring your time into. It's important that those are with wise people and people that edify. But I think that's where even in situations where you have someone like we had who was crying out for help and crying out to know God, it's still important that because I knew going into that they were a spiritually draining, to use that term we've been using, person, somebody who basically is at one moment saying they need help and the other moment seeking to drag you further away from the pearly gates, basically. It's important to set up those boundaries and be like, well, I'm not going to be a companion to you in the way that this verse talks about. I'm not going to entirely walk alongside you and allow you to, I'm not going to be intimately involved in your mind and adopting your principles in any way, right? So, yeah. Was there something else we were getting at with that? I probably ended it on a note that was different than you ended it on, Jude. So maybe we should wrap back up into that way.
Well, no. I had a starting point and something I wanted to say, and I felt like at least some of the listeners could benefit from, and it took a route that I think was ultimately beneficial.
So I think though that from it all, we can drive home that you can't just like surround yourself with those that are unbelievers that are going to drag you down in all facets of your life. But in those situations that you are, make sure that you have set boundaries so that it doesn't come into your own house and home and into your spiritual life, their ways of being and acting. And furthermore, having a counterbalance in your life that outweighs that is building you back up so that each time that you come back to those situations, you're stronger than you were last time.
Yeah. And that's how things slowly over time, you adopt things like language, like we talked about. When you're in a workplace, I mean, that's why I did that in that workplace, is I was around all that all the time. And that was a point in my life where I was not seeking godly counsel. I was not going to church regularly, right? For those who have listened to last week's episode, I talked about this, how I was working this job and it was a nice excuse to be like, I work nights, so I can't go to church on Sundays, I mean, it would have been difficult, but I should have made that effort. I should have been doing these things. I should have been fostering the relationships around me more that were edifying, because when you're not doing that and you're returning to this, in this example, workplace or school or whatever, time and time again, you're slowly whittled down every time, and you're coming back to it each time lesser than you were before, more willing to accept these things. Whereas, like you're saying, if you return instead, having been built back up, having been refilled and refortified in godly values.
Yeah. And be a light in those situations rather
then you
than
can be
being
more
snuffed out.
effectively.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're being an influence to someone spiritually, you want them to come to the faith and be able to fall back on you because you want to be
Right.
helping them. And it's ridiculous to think that you can help all these people and have all these people have you as the person they can fall back on without you having anyone to fall back on.
Exactly.
So just make sure you're not only balancing, but you're always outweighing your yoke in a good way. You're always being more spiritually influenced than you are negatively.
And this is something we've talked about in multiple facets of life too. That's very important is, not wasting your time that you have now, not building yourself up, right? Make sure that you are working on yourself and being introspective, and you are studying and learning and always running towards God and improving and growing ever closer to Him, right? Because you're never going to stop learning, but you should be seeking Him out so that you can be that effective ambassador to people, and you can be resilient to the ways of the world, but then in turn be fortified and so that you can be that light, right? I mean, in that moment where I was like, oh, I can't resist, I can't turn this person down who's saying, hey, basically, give me the gospel, right? But then to help this person, I was associating myself with them and opening myself up to either temptation or also just being dragged down. I had not been making the effort in my life at that time to be consistently fortified so that I could be that, without being pulled down. So maybe if I had, I would have dealt with that situation better, right? So yeah. Like you were saying, be encouraged to, as you're going into life, especially into adulthood, for some of you graduates, you're going to come across situations like this, but make sure you spend your time right now getting involved in churches and groups of friends who do edify you, and you have these types of discussions with, so that you are effective, right? You are effective and you are fortified, and when you share the gospel, even in those really difficult situations, you aren't dragged down by them.
Hey, and if you want to find somewhere that you can go fall back on, we've got our community on the Discord.
Yeah.
Reach out to people, and
We've got Bible study.
we've got a Bible study. Reach out and ask for prayer in situations. Yeah.
I mean, that's part of what Christian Influence is about, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to connect people who play games, something that they seek for entertainment, but they do it in a community that is edifying, right? And that is gospel focused. And then we try and push to the forefront of people's feed, I guess, in their Discord. That's not how Discord works, but like Christian entertainment. This podcast, we'll have another podcast in the future, Christian streamers. Ooh, foreshadowing.
But yeah. Anything else on
Jude? We kind of wrapped it up already a little bit.
kinda
I feel like
pretty
we all
good
got
wrap
our
up.
closing statements. Levi?
Remember, everyone, we love you. God made you special, and He loves you very much. Roll the outro.
Oh, we're done. Okay.
I end the program by saying, you've made this day a special day by just your being you. There's no person in the whole world like you, and I like you just the way you are.
That's a good one.